Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. My name is Jay, and you're watching Clouded Reactions. So we're going to be reacting to the history behind the song Ruina Imperii. We just heard the song, and in a gist, I would say that it's just talking about how word got around that Carolus Rex died, and the whole army, or whatever was left of the army, started marching home over the winters. It was cold. I mean, imagine what's on the mind of every single soldier walking home, carrying his body, following the body of the. That's the dream. That's a dead dream, just drifting along. I mean, what are they thinking right now? What's going on at home? What's because I know there's a whole bunch of craziness going down in Sweden, and they're not that far away because they're making their way into Norway until they're stopped, and Carolus got shot right outside that stronghold. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, let's see who took over, because I don't know. It's a monarchy, right? So it's passed. The kingship is passed down through lineage. So he didn't have any kids, right? They didn't really talk about any kids. I remember in the song Carolus Rex, the history behind that song, it said that we know he assumed power at 15, and the war started at 18, when he was 18. So what I'm confused is, in the history, it kind of said that he didn't really have an interest in women at the time. It was more about just the fighting, and definitely not women. Women was not on his mind. So did he have any kids? Who inherits the kingdom after he passes away? Or after he passed away? I don't know, man. All that and more in the Sabaton history video. This video is kind of long, so I'm going to try to keep the chit-chat to a minimum. Hope you guys enjoy the reaction. And of course, welcome to those new to the channel. And if you're not so new, welcome back.
All empires eventually crumble, including the Swedish Empire. This is Ruina Imperii. It was a cold day for the Swedish forces in front of the Norwegian fortress of Fredrikshavn. Their sappers had dug their trenches close towards the fortress walls, well within musket distance of the defenders. All soldiers kept their heads down, if they did not want to come under sporadic fire. Dusk came, and soon darkness fell over the battlefield. The defenders lit torches on the walls and shot fireballs into the air to illuminate the night sky. This evening, King Charles XII, Karl den XII, chose to walk the trenches with his officers. Karl was in a good mood, and he was intrigued by the activities on the fortress walls. Curious, he climbed towards the top of the trench, despite the vehement protests of his officers. Waving them aside, he lay down alongside the breastwork, with his head and arms over the slope. Behind him, the officers were arguing, urging their king to caution, to get back to safety. The darkness made it more difficult to spot him, but no musket ball would distinguish His Royal Highness from the common soldier. By then it was 9 o'clock, and the moon reappeared from behind the clouds. The king rested his cheek on his left hand and watched the scene. Suddenly, the officers heard a dull sound, as if a stone fell from the skies on the cold earth. Karl's head lay motionless on the ground. "Lord Jesus, the king has been shot!" Karl den XII was killed at the age of 36 in the 22nd year of his reign. His body was carried by his loyal soldiers through the snowy Norwegian mountains and back to Stockholm, where he was soon laid to rest. The war in Norway was abandoned. The armies went home. Seemingly overnight, the Swedish Empire crumbled. Deprived of her king, all ambitions of restoring the nation to its old glory vanished, and the vision of a Swedish empire beyond Scandinavia died with Carolus Rex. Karl's rule passed to his sister Ulrika Eleonora, and then to his brother-in-law Frederick after a couple years. The Swedish soldiers were forced to fight the Russian fleet in the coming years as they began pillaging the Swedish shores and islands. But although the Swedes were still fighting, even if it was just to keep the homeland safe, peace was on the horizon. In the treaties of Frederiksborg and Nystad, Sweden lost all its Baltic territories, which Russian Tsar Peter had already occupied, and its dominions in northern Germany were partitioned among her other enemies. Sweden's empire had ended. from the endless wars and Karl's ever unfulfilled desire for conquest, Sweden finally had a chance to recover. The Swedes had suffered much during the last years of Karl's reign, and the burdens of the last 10 years had ruined the state. Just like the soldiers in the field, the Swedish peasants had to suffer and endure a great deal simply to do their duty to king and country. The ever-increasing demands made upon the yeomanry impoverished most of Sweden's farmers. The obligations to supply the crown with grain and fodder, horses and carts, had left many with little for themselves. In addition, the way the Swedish military system was designed, each farm had to maintain up to 3 soldiers. Each Swede was to supply soldiers with not only food, but with luxuries like tobacco and spirits. Bad harvests worsened their lot, bringing famine and disease. Sweden's south, the breadbasket of the nation, saw a massive decline in population during Karl's reign. Farmsteads had been deserted as the young men went to war. Travelers made remarks about the dismal existence of the Swedish farmers and the absence of young men in the countryside. Some said they did not see a single man between the ages of 20 and 40 in the whole country except for those in the army. Commerce, foreign trade had nearly stopped because of the constant state of war. Trading with the Baltic provinces became mostly impossible and revenues dried up. While Swedish ships remained at anchor, British, Dutch, and Danish merchants exploited the gap, took over the markets. The ensuing lack of raw materials and resources soon crippled manufacturers all over Sweden. Karl XI had left his son a full treasury, and while Sweden was victorious in the field, the wars would partly pay for themselves through plunder and subsidies. But the longer the wars dragged on and eventually turned against the Swedes, the debt rose to unbearable levels. In the final years of Karl XII's reign, the royal treasury accumulated a debt of over £1 million. The Swedish economy, flooded with nearly worthless paper money and metal tokens, was about to collapse. Karl had been the one who stood in the way of peace. While he was alive, he would have never accepted a compromise that would not restore the territory he had lost. A disadvantageous peace, even just for the sake of his nation, would have been unacceptable to that monarch. Karl, however, was not indifferent to the suffering of the Swedes, nor was he the evil tyrant who exploited them for the sake of his own glory, as his enemies often portrayed him. But Karl lived in the moment. He looked to his immediate needs, on how to finance the next strike against his enemies, and left the internal problems to his pretty powerless ministers. In the field, Karl willingly shared the hardships of the soldiers. He slept on the same cold ground, ate the same meager meals, and exposed himself to mortal danger time and again. As a king, he valued valor, modesty, piety, and restraint above all else.
See, that reminds me exactly of Hannibal. The men respected him so much because he didn't have his own special tent, ate different food. No, he was right there in the mud, in the nitty-gritty, eating the same food as the soldiers. And that boosts the morale of soldiers so much that they will follow the king even further than just, impeccable speeches and, this great vision. No, like morale, like, how do you say it? High morale gets even more boosted because they're already a religious army, very religious. So even the morale gets boosted even more knowing that their leader is living just like them. And so that way when you see the king charging or he's in the front, that rallies the men. He doesn't even have to say anything. You just see him all the way in the front and you know what? He's willing to sacrifice himself for the same, he's not just going to sacrifice all of us for his cause. He's willing to sacrifice himself. So that's just great leadership. Unfortunately, he did just stretch it out a little too long, like I said in the other video, but it is what it is. But that's very respectable how people, I don't know how many other figures have done that in history. I just know of Hannibal for sure. Now Carolus Rex. I don't know about a whole lot of others that really went to the extent of living like the soldiers, like, you know what I'm saying.
While on campaign, no one would have taken Karl for a king if they did not know him. He wore no expensive garb, no jewels, not even fur or armor. As a commander, Karl cared deeply for his subordinates. He was reassuring to his officers and kind to even the lowliest servant. Although never on familiar terms, he took great care of those that shed blood in his name. Often he was found sitting in silence, sharing the soldiers' lot as he mourned those that had fallen in his service. Still, he expected nothing less than absolute obedience from his soldiers. His command was law, and those who doubted his judgment would feel his wrath. As he was generous to his men, so was he terrible to his foes. He would burn down a village of innocents if it meant not letting the guilty escape. And judgment over he himself was to be done by God, by no one else. Karl clung to the legacy of Swedish Empire and saw it as his personal responsibility to keep fighting for its honor and existence. He fought the wars to right old wrongs, to recapture what was lost, and keep what was rightfully his, always believing that just one more decisive victory on the battlefield would turn it all around. Karl had seen life as a cycle of good and bad times. Just as he was victorious in the field, there would come a time when he would lose it all, only to rise back up once more. But in the end, it all vanished in this one fateful night in front of Fredrikshavn. Karl's death led to the end of the old Swedish Empire. Sweden would successfully defend itself, though, and soon enter an era of liberty, but both the absolute monarchy and the empire were lost forever. Swedish King Gustavus III, Gustav III, years later once said of Karl, he was extraordinary rather than great. He certainly had not the true conquering temperament which simply aims at acquisition of territory. Karl took dominions with one hand only to give them away with the other. Superior to Alexander, with whom it were an injustice to compare him, he was as much inferior to his rival Peter in the qualities which make a great ruler as he excelled him in those qualities which go to make a great hero. What else can be said about Karl?
That's exactly true. I'm not gonna say a whole lot about it, but he was more of a great hero than a great ruler. Because a great ruler, although they want to expand and make their empire more great, they make sure that the empire that they have at that moment is doing decent. And towards the end, I don't know about the beginning, how the economy was, but towards the end, it went down extremely quick. So I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. He was a great hero. I don't know if he was, what they say. They said he was greater than, that guy was saying, the King Gustav said that he was greater than Alexander. Is that what they said? Is that what he said? Because Alexander, at least as he expanded, he built cities. So I don't think, economy-wise, Alexander did that bad. The only thing is he just kept wanting to expand and expand and expand. That was his great folly.
Karl's reign. Was he a good king or a bad king? Did he resemble the hero of his own Greek tragedy, forced to fight a war that he would ultimately lose no matter what? Or was there a realistic chance that he could reinvigorate the Dominium Maris Baltici, like his forefathers had envisioned? Or was he a selfish tyrant, one whose endless wars brought nothing but misery to his realm and his people? Over the centuries, people have remained fascinated with Karl's life, and it seems that history has still not made up its mind about him. The march begins in military state, and nations on his eye suspended wait. Stern famine guards the solitary coast, and winter barricades the realms of frost. He comes, nor want nor cold his course delay. Hide blushing glory, hide Poltava's day. The vanquished hero leaves his broken bands, and shews his miseries in distant lands, condemned a needy supplicant to wait, while ladies interpose and slaves debate. But did not chance at length his error mend? Did no subverted empire mark his end? Did rival monarchs give the fatal wound, or hostile millions press him to the ground? His fall was destined to a barren strand, a petty fortress, and a dubious hand. He left the name at which the world grew pale, to point a moral or adorn a tale. Samuel Johnson, The Vanity of Human Wishes. English version of Ruina Imperii.
That is true. As the ending track of the Carolus Rex album, which was available in Swedish and in English, we wanted eventually to keep the legacy of the Swedish Empire a little bit longer and do our little part to tell people that they have to learn a little bit of Swedish to keep it
I wonder how many people out there have actually memorized the Swedish lyrics.
More than you think. I know that there's a lot of you out there who can sing along to one song in Swedish, thanks to we never made an English version of it. And it's also funny, we actually we performed the full Carolus Rex album as a whole, but we never played this song live, because at the show when we did it, we had Caroleans coming out, and we actually had the king Carolus Rex with us, and he was shot, and there was a lot of things. And during this, we had the Caroleans moving out and marching out and doing a reenactment, and then eventually firing, and the band disappeared and got changed for the second part of the show. But it was very interesting to see the whole audience to sing along, because for once we were also just observing. It was a Sabaton show, the stage is full of Caroleans and a dead king, and there's a huge audience, and we are just not playing.
Now, people must have asked for an English version, of course.
There are some people who ask for it, and some people who think that there was an error, but this was intentional from our side, that we wanted to have this one. Like, if you want to understand the full meaning, you got to learn Swedish.
And it is, it's a great concept album, a real, hardcore concept album. And what was going on with the band then at the time that, this was happening? Because this is 2 albums. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest.
It's a big concept that we did, and it's very emotional. And when I listen to this song ending the album, I always think, because Carolus Rex for me means a lot, and it means a lot for all of us, because not only the amount of work we put into it, that it was such a again, a lot of people said we cannot do it, we shouldn't do it, an album in Swedish about Carolus Rex, about the Swedish Empire, you shouldn't do it, it's controversial. We did it anyway. People said it's not gonna sell, it sold more than anything we've done ever, and all the way it worked. But during this, we also had a lot of internal struggles.
Okay.
So this is by the time we are recording this in 2011, when, as some of you know, when Sabaton, as it was formed, the Sabaton Mark I was disbanded. It was during the middle of the album recording, and we decided to go separate ways. And in order to finish the album in time, it was very hard work done by mainly Joachim, who had to wrap up because there was no more band. So a lot of guitars was played by him and things like that as well, in order to finish this album. And I remember me and Joachim saying, okay, maybe there will be no more Sabaton after this, but let's at least finish this as a kind of a, then if this is our final album, then let's do one hell of an album about it. And it was really hard to have the emotional things about we don't even know if there's a band that's gonna be with us anymore, and working writing double album, and then also trying to be creative without knowing if we can even go on tour, because how to go on tour without a band. And so all in all, this album, and specifically when I hear this song, because it ends the album, and it was one of the latest additions to the album. It was one of the, I think the last song that was written for the album and added, and it doesn't have any guitar solo, and it's a bit of a different vibe of the song. It reminds me a lot about this all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that no fan, you guys didn't know about what was going on at that time. And also our record label Nuclear Blast had no idea that this, and I remember after we finished the album, and I make the phone call down to Germany to the Nuclear Blast, and I say, guys, put it on speakerphone and pull all the teeth.
So why did they split mid-making of Carolus Rex album? Was it because of the controversy, or was it because of something else? And also, you guys had said before, in like I think it was the Last Stand, when you guys were really talking about the old band. You guys said that they're still friends with the bandmates that actually left, and sometimes they bring them on stage, or they even participate in some of their live when they tour. The old bandmates come on stage and they play along with them. So why did they split? And I'm surprised they left Joachim to do a lot of work. He must be a bigger man than me, because if they left me to do all that work by myself, just to come back later and I guess they hashed it out somehow. They became friends again. But I wonder also, why would they think there will be no more Sabaton after that? Like, yeah, I understand you're missing like half your band now. You ain't got no guitarists, no drummers. But if Joachim and Par are the ones that are writing the lyrics and writing the music, does it really matter who's in the band? As long as they're reliable, they're not, you vet them, make sure they know how to play their instrument. Like, what is it? I mean, I'm sure they're not just on hand. You can't, but this is in the time of like social media too, where you could put like a post on Facebook. Because this is what, 2011? Facebook was around since then already. So why would they think? Well, I guess also that kind of hurt. Like, you probably think, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.
Team that is working with us in the same room, and when they are all there, guys, sit down. Okay, first the good news: we have finished an album, and it is by far our best album. And then the bad news is that there is no more Sabaton at the moment, and they were just silent. And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "There is only me and Joachim left in the band." And they were absolutely stunned. And they said, no band can survive such a big change. And I was explaining to them, you have to trust us on this. We believe so strongly in Sabaton that we will be able to take it from here and raise it up and make it more powerful than ever. And they were so against us. First of all, we had made an album about something that they couldn't understand. Why when you write album about international wars and suddenly you write about a Swedish king that they never heard of hundreds of years ago, and the Swedish party say don't do this because it's going to be controversial and maybe even forbidden in Sweden, and then and you're going to launch it without having a band, and you are splitting up a band that is very loud. This is the end of your band, and I have to spend a lot of effort convincing them that, guys, you have to put faith in this, because we will turn this in our favor and we will come out very strong from this. And they trusted in us eventually, after a lot of convincing. And I think that now everyone knows where it all ended up with today, I think we are just a few numbers away from a 5 times platinum certification of an album, which is by Swedish means unprecedented in rock history.
Well, Per, that was fascinating, actually. I was curious where the interview part of this song was going to go when we started it. I knew a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know we were going to go there. And I bet you guys didn't either. So that is where we will leave you today for Sabaton history.
Thank you for watching. Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you everybody for supporting. And those who don't do it, click the bell, subscribe, and become a patron. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, listen to what he says too, man. If you can't help them out on Patreon, subscribe to their channel. Like, they get every video, well, not every video, but majority of the videos that I watch, 5 million views, 10 million views. How many subscribers do they have? 1.5 or some sort like that. Like, yeah, man, y'all better start pulling your weight. I already subscribed to them for sure, and I clicked the noti bell. Noti gang over here, straight up. I wonder, what's your guys' opinion on Carolus Rex? Like, as a whole, knowing everything, knowing that he was doing it for the great and noble reasons at first, but then he just kind of pushed too far. He wouldn't listen to peace treaties. He wasn't listening to deals that could help him out temporarily so he could kind of breathe and regroup. But instead, he just kept saying no. And Instead of like going back and waiting for reinforcements, he saw that as retreating, so he pushed forward. What do you guys think? Was he a madman or was he a hero? I think that Gustav, the future king, had kind of said it in a decent way, that he was more of a hero than a great leader. The other poem, I caught some bits of it, but most of it just flew right over my head. I'm not gonna lie with you. A lot of that poem didn't stick. And also, where do you guys think, how big on the map would Sweden have been if Carolus Rex had just kind of like halted, listened to some of his generals, even took the deal from the Prussian army and led the group of part Prussian, part Saxon, part Sweden, and went against Peter the Great? I'm pretty sure, first of all, he would have had the numbers. We already know he's got the tactics. How much of an influence, how different would that part of Europe today be if Carolus Rex kind of just, kind of listened? It wasn't as much as of a go-doer, not living in the moment, but more of a serious battle planner. Really looked, at the big picture. He wasn't really looking at the big picture. He just wanted, and somebody had said in the comments too, I think it was, I forgot her name. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you right there. And I don't know if you guys, are okay with me putting names on, like, your guys' names up here. But she had said something along the lines of, at 15 and he inherited the empire, and he thought he was destined for that position. So he, by God, that title was given to him. Then he was winning all these battles, so he really thought his ego was just like, just growing so big to the point where even in the face of destruction and demise, he thought that he could overcome it. So, where was I going with this? I don't even remember. But just what do you guys think? What do you guys really believe today? Oh yeah, how would Sweden? How different would it look like today? Honest opinion. I really want to know. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Don't have to subscribe, but if you really like my video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel grow a lot more than you would think. And yeah, stay safe, stay positive. I'm gonna try to react to maybe 2 more songs, and after that, or 2 more videos, and after that, I don't know if I'll be able to record anymore. You guys I might disappear for a little while. I'm gonna miss you guys, but best believe I'm not saying goodbye, because I will be back. Hope when I do come back, you guys are still here. You guys are still around. Who knows? Maybe some of you guys would have just moved on already and forgot about all little old Jay's and his Clouded Reaction channel. But I mean, we won't know until we cross that bridge. Hope you guys stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.